Happy Tuesday. It is the 269th day of the year. There are 96 days left in 2023, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tom. So, it's fall, and all that goes with fall. Cooler weather, the leaves will start falling from the trees, school buses are running up and down the streets again. There's football, Halloween, school days, the big holidays, the ones that count. Thanksgiving and Christmas are on the way. So let's hope that fall brings us cooler weather. Crisp, cool weather puts us all in a good holiday mood. While we are hoping we can hope for fewer storms, big ones and smaller ones, these past few cooler mornings have been really enjoyable. Sunrise, cool, crisp air, biking through the neighborhood, be nice to continue calm, unsettling. It would be nice to continue calm, unsettling, cool weather for a while. Our once a month long roundtable where everyone gets to have a say is our G-list guest today. Some of the things we can discuss today will be Dion, of course, a proposal to defund certain college majors. Will the government shut down and does anybody care? Some politics, defunding certain college majors. If you can't get a job within your major, then you can't get certain funding from the state, particularly the state of Mississippi. Teenagers in social media and whatever else, 10-year-olds who drive on the interstate, Hollywood strikes, auto worker strikes, whatever else may be on your mind, we can talk about it today. It should be fun. Our show today, of course, is sponsored by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. So let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Customizes the solution that fits your needs. So let's get to our roundtable regulars and talk to Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker and see how they're doing today. Good morning, guys and girl.
Good morning. That's right. You can throw me in there with the guys.
Good morning. How we doing this morning?
Doing well.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I'm doing well. I went for a quick little ride this morning. Didn't realize it had rained overnight, and we had some rain, but it was still a good ride. So Barbara, what's happening with you?
Well, Tom, I spent the weekend in Montgomery attending the Montgomery Smooth Jazz and R&B Festival.
Is that one of Arts?
Art wasn't involved.
Arts.
Cedric, his partner with Empowerment Inc., actually does the one in Montgomery.
Okay.
I don't think Art's involved in that one anymore, but it was a great lineup. Saw the Whispers perform, and I didn't realize they turned 80 years old this past weekend.
What song did they make? I remember
Oh my gosh, they have a long list of songs.
But I can't remember.
No, I'm not good with names of songs. I can hum them, but I can't tell you the names of them.
Well, it's okay. It's okay.
They were awesome. 80 years old. The voices sound just like they did, back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. They were truly great. Jonathan Butler was there. Angela Winbush announced that she was 69 years old and still moving around that stage like a 35-year-old. Kurt Whalen, Gerald Veasley, Jonathan Butler. The list goes
So let
on.
me ask you something. Well, you mentioned their ages a couple of times.
Yeah.
Is 80 the same as it used to be? Or is 70 the same as it used to be? Are people younger than they used to be? So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think.
I definitely think that people are more concerned about their health and getting exercise, maybe watching their diets a little bit better. And I think people it's a younger generation of the 80s now, 80-year-olds and 70-year-olds. I was telling someone last night I'm 66, and I don't feel like a 66-year-old or how I thought a 66-year-old would feel at this age. I feel better than I did in my 40s. So I definitely think people are the I think it's changing, and people are more active
I
and
think
eating right.
I think when you were younger, you're 10, you're 15, you're 20, even 20, and somebody said somebody was 70, you were like, woo, you
Oh,
know,
yes.
uh,
Yes,
and they looked it.
yes,
Uh,
yes,
in the eyes of a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old, they looked it,
absolutely.
but it seems to be different now,
I
you
think
know.
so.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
morning,
I would
Art
agree.
Jenkins. How you doing? Anyway, go ahead. My friend
I was going
Art
to
is
say,
coming in.
I agree with you. I think it's a combination that people probably in the baby boomer generation, not all, but for the most part, they kind of grew up being acclimated to exercise and being active, probably a little bit more intuitive to what they eat and put in their bodies, and try to build for the long run. I think that is a reason for it right now. And I was reading something just the other day that talked about exercising help push back dementia and other
Mhm.
cognitive
Right.
issues that people develop if you go out and exercise. So and think about this. You remember way back when our grandparents and great grandparents and stuff, and they worked in the fields and did all this manual labor, they tend to age more gracefully back then. And then I think we hit a situation where that was not the case. And I'm not advocating those times, but I think it's the exercise that made a difference. That's
Right.
what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, something makes a difference. I agree with you. I don't know. I'm sure that exercise is a part of it, but yeah, we're in a different era now.
Right.
You know, and I guess that's good.
That is good.
Well, it's the era we in, nothing we can
That's
do about
right.
it.
We can't
That's
get out of
we're
it. Huh?
all here.
No, no. Yeah. Speaking of which, it just drives me nuts doing business nowadays. Why is it so difficult to do business? Even the simplest task. Like, for instance, last week on a Tuesday, I bought a little TV stand for a 65-inch television I bought. Bought it from Walmart. Thought I was getting a good deal, $78 for it. Bought it on Tuesday. Supposed to be delivered via FedEx by Thursday at the latest. I keep getting notices. It's out for delivery, out for delivery. It will be here Thursday between 9:50 and 2:50. Didn't
What,
come.
last Thursday?
Last Thursday, didn't come. Then Friday, same thing. It's out for delivery. The window of time, 9:50 to 1:50, didn't come. But now I can't call anybody and say, where is my order? You keep sending me this thing where I can track it and show that it has left one place that's 12 miles from the other and it's en route, but it's not getting delivered. You can't call anybody and talk to them. When you call, please put
No.
in your tracking number. You put your tracking number in, it's out for delivery.
Out for
That's all you
delivery.
get.
They can't find you, Michael.
Okay. Then I get some on Saturday. It'll be delivered today. Didn't come. Then I get
Wow.
something yesterday saying it's coming. Now, meantime, I can't talk to anybody about it. I just got to sit here. And I thought about going to Walmart and say, look, just cancel this order. I'm not going through this.
Hmm.
Well, they delivered it last night at 7:30 and just put it outside the door.
I'm laughing
Wow.
because I have asked these guys over and over again, not the postman, he's great, but the UPS guys, the FedEx guys, they'll come leave a package on the porch. It's raining,
Hmm.
and they
No
leave it on the
notification.
porch. I'll catch them every now and I say, hey man, could you do me a favor? Oh, sure, sure. Would you please just ring the doorbell? Because we're in the house. If
Right.
you ring the doorbell, we can get the package and it won't get damaged. Whatever. Oh, sure, sure. And they never do. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
I,
it's
I, I
terrible.
said I asked him. I said, is it against the rules to ring the doorbell? You know. So I understand, man. When we
Well,
were
check this out, Thom. On top of that, this morning I got an email. Your package has been delivered.
yeah, we've gotten that one too. And you're like, well, where is it?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh man.
I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe that's a trade-off. People are living long, but the services are getting worse. So
The services are getting worse.
yeah, yeah.
I can tell
Instead
you
of customer service, it's customer no service. You know,
right.
and everybody, you do it yourself. You know.
yeah. The yesterday I got a thing from SAG-AFTRA. SAG is the Screen Actors Guild. AFTRA is the television part of that, but it's combined now, and so I get a pension from SAG, and I apparently have enough credits to get one from AFTRA. They've sent me some information. They sent me a code or number or whatever, but of course I got to go into this new portal that they've come up with, and I take that number they give me and I put that exact number in there, and every time it says incorrect.
Right.
But who's gonna call? Who you gonna call?
Right.
You can't call. So yeah, I understand exactly, man.
It's yeah.
You know,
I got a new phone, and I was trying to access my online banking on my new phone. It says this phone hasn't been registered. So they give you the link to go through the process to register that new device. I went through the process like 10 times, and every time I get to a certain point, it would go back to the same thing. This device is not registered. Well, I'm trying to register it. I finally called customer service. The lady said, well, you should be able to register. I know that, but and I've tried, and I've gone through the process 10 times. She said, well, let's try it while I'm on the phone. So she's online. She can see what transaction I'm actually doing, every time I hit a button. So she said, I don't understand. You just got to go into a branch and figure that out. And I'm thinking, why have online banking if I have to go into the branch and register a device that's supposed to be electronic? It's crazy. But I went in there, and the lady told me, she said, well, let's walk through the steps. Well, one of the steps they had in there wasn't necessary. So the fact that I was hitting that step was what was causing me to go back to the very
yeah,
beginning. Like,
yeah.
but
That's what you get for following instructions.
Right.
Well, I think there are people. To me, it's like when you have people who put those things together who really know what they're doing, but they may not know how to get somebody else to do it.
Right.
Is a big issue.
Yes, it is.
Because they can skip 3 steps
Right.
and get it done.
Right.
But when you skip those steps, it tells you you're out.
Right.
You got incorrect password, incorrect this, whatever. So it's the world we live in. It's the
Yes, it is.
it's the technological world. And when you complain about it, they say, well, you just old fashioned. And I admit I'm old fashioned, but that ain't any reason why this shit ain't working.
That's right.
Anyway,
not your fault.
Oh, Michael, what you got, bro?
Well, there's a couple things in the news. One thing I want to mention is, you guys remember the mailman, Stetson Bennett, not the mailman Carl Malone, but Stetson Bennett, the quarterback at Georgia. Yeah. And he had a great story. The walk-on, Georgia tried to get rid of him, didn't want him to play. The fans hated him. He won back-to-back national championships.
Right.
Well, he got drafted by the Rams and was on par to be the backup quarterback. Well, he's been placed on non-football injury lists and has not been playing and has just been away from the team. Sean McVay, the coach, refused to talk about it. But I got word that Stetson has a alcohol abuse problem, and
no,
that has impacted his ability to play for the Rams and suit up. And he's going through rehab and what have you. And I think it's just very sad that a kid from Blackshear, Georgia, that nobody wanted, and he was too small and all that, and he, rose to national fame, and it was a made for Hollywood movie,
Yes.
and now
and it still could be.
Yeah,
since
right.
He's got a problem.
Even more so now.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he's having to deal with alcoholism and this, inability to control it. So we just hope that he can get himself together and pray for him that he can get back, because it's always good for somebody like that to get an opportunity and make it.
Try to lift him up. That's, I know him being at Georgia, being the quarterback, 2 national championships, that can very quickly go to your head. That can very quickly get you out of whack. Mm-hmm. And I hope that he'll get himself together. What do you guys think about Deion this weekend?
Poor team. That's my second team. They didn't look too good this weekend.
Well, I'm not surprised, first of all, that they lost the game. I may be a little bit surprised by the margin of the loss. But if you sit back and analyze it and think about it, Deion, this is his first year at Colorado, and he overhauled the roster with 85 players coming in, all new. And people that really don't know or understand how difficult a job is to get that many people that have not had any connection to all work together and not have any hiccups is unrealistic, So it's to be expected. They weren't going to go undefeated and win the national championship anyway.
Long ways from that.
Yeah,
exactly.
With Travis Hunter being out, I really expected them to not perform the best. I didn't expect it to be that big of a difference in the score, but I really thought that they would have problems with Oregon with Travis Hunter not playing.
It was that big of a difference in the talent level.
That's
yes.
true.
It was, you can't play without offensive linemen that are comparable to the other team's offensive linemen.
Or defensive line.
Yeah. When it started, you could tell, oh, man, this is going to be, they ain't got a chance. And they did. And the same thing this weekend. Now, hopefully they won't get beaten as bad.
Right.
But I love Deion never backs down. Deion told for that Oregon coach, he said, we take receipts. We got receipts. So we gonna remember this.
But and Dan Lanning was trying to run it up anyway. It was really personal with him.
Right.
And I think, to be honest with you, a lot of people don't take too kindly the fact that Deion had the career he had in both baseball and football. And he's a Hall of Famer in football. And he was a sports talking head. And then he decides to go be a coach. And he's done very well. And I think that rubs a lot of people the wrong way because of his style and what have you. But that's just him, But he backs it up with what he does. Right. So there's a lot of people that really wanting him to fail. Yeah. And Tom, I'm going to mention this one thing and then let you chime in. Deion said in the press conference, he said, people keep thinking it's me out there playing. It's not me playing.
Right.
Okay. I've had a great career. I'm in the Hall of Fame. So you're not playing against me anyway. And I thought that was a poignant message to the other people. Go ahead, Tom.
I think that you talk about Barbara mentioned earlier, we were talking behind before we went on about some coaches not having playing experience. And a
Right.
lot of coaches, especially at the coordinator level, haven't necessarily played.
Mhm.
I think that's part of, I don't know, the envy or whatever it is with Dion,
Yes.
because um, he didn't have to go through the channels that they went through.
Right.
He chose a different way, and his name and his prime and all that stuff has helped lift him to a different level. Plus, he decided, oh, where will I start? I'll start at Jackson State,
Right.
HBCU. Nobody argued with him being at Jackson State.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, you can go do that. Go ahead and do that. You can't coach with us, but go ahead and do that
Mhm.
with those guys because we know that they're less than anyway. And at least that's in some of them's opinion. Um, but I,
Yeah, but
I
what
I I hate that they got beat that bad, but I think it'll settle some of the talk. Not necessarily from Dion,
not from Dion.
but from some of the others. And
You know,
We'll see. I hope it does.
the other thing I think gets lost in this, and Tom, you and I talked about it when Cam was playing. Isn't this supposed to be entertainment?
yeah,
Isn't it entertainment?
yeah,
People take it far too serious,
Oh, yes.
you
oh
know,
yeah,
and all the hatred and vitriol and stuff like that. I remember some friends of mine one time out. This been a couple of years ago, and Auburn lost the game. Guy wouldn't call me until about a week later. He said, "Well, I decided I wouldn't call you because I figured you'd be upset since Auburn didn't win." I said, "Well, first of all, let me just say this: the value of my self-worth is not predicated on what a bunch of 18 to 22 years old do
Right.
on a Saturday
there you
afternoon.
go,
Right.
there
Okay.
you go.
That's first
Yeah.
and foremost. Now, did the coach screw up? Yeah, he did. But hey, that doesn't change my life or impact it. I can't, judge myself or how value I am based on what some 18 to 22-year-olds. Because if that's the case, I'm in big trouble.
But you'd be surprised how many people do, Michael. I mean, I had an employee many, many years ago who was the biggest Alabama fan ever. Never went to college, never, of course, didn't attend Alabama, didn't even have relatives that had attended Alabama. But she was a huge Alabama fan. Alabama was having a pretty good year that year. She bragged about how good they were going to do. They were
It's
going to beat
funny.
Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and Auburn won that Iron Bowl. I have this woman called in sick for an entire week because she couldn't face anybody.
Uh,
She was literally sick. She said she was in bed because it got to her
uh,
that bad. I'm thinking this is ridiculous.
and the guys who play after the
Right?
game, they
They're
shake
buddies.
hands.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go out together and
Yeah.
and enjoy the evening. You
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
but you can't do anything about
And
that.
and as a player, you have to have the mentality next, because you got another game coming.
Exactly. You gotta get
So
ready for the next one.
Well, I think that's the other thing about Colorado. People, hey, they got to play USC this week, so they ain't
Yeah.
got time to dwell on what happened with Oregon.
And I hear
And
Travis Hunter is begging to Dion to allow him to play in that game. I hope he doesn't. I don't think he's ready to come back, but they
not
say
with a
he's chomping at the
lacerated
bit.
kidney.
He's chomping at the bit to get
yeah,
back.
I thought Bo Nix did a good job. I thought that he was certainly better than he was at Auburn. Um, and so it takes time. When
Hmm.
he came in and he was going to be all that and so on and so forth. I'll never forget that one pass play. He went back to pass and he ran backwards about 40 yards. It's like, where you going? Come back this way.
Wrong way.
But
And don't forget, Tom, he threw a no-look bounce pass.
he did. He did.
That was in the
But
Florida game.
it takes time. And I
Yes.
think the thing I hate to see Auburn's quarterback, Robbie Ashford, going through the stuff he's going through
Right.
because I watched him play the other day and it was all in his head, man. He couldn't play because he was so focused on what they'd been telling him to do and to not do. And you can't play like that. You got to be able to play free. And I'm not saying, I'll say this, and some people misconstrue it. I don't really care. Robbie played a lot freer last year under Cadillac than he's playing now under this current administration. I'm not saying that Cadillac and them were better. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying he felt the freedom to go out there and make mistakes. And if you can't make mistakes, have the freedom to make mistakes, you can't play.
Yes.
You cannot be successful. You cannot be successful at that high level if you're worrying about, if I do this, he's going to take me out. If I throw this one pass and don't connect on this one pass they allow me to throw it per game, they're going to take me out.
And Tom, I think you're right about that. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where coaches who have played at that level understand that it's okay to let them play free. They make some mistakes, but they're also going to get more confidence in building a confidence level and be able to play better in the long run. But coaches who haven't played at that level may not understand that part of the game. So that may be some of the difference there.
Yeah.
Michael, go ahead.
The other thing I was going to say is they keep saying Robbie can't throw the ball. Okay, well, yeah, he may be inconsistent and miss some players, but he didn't miss people like Thorne did. Thorne had a guy wide open on a wheel route and threw the ball out of bounds.
Right.
Okay, not even close to him. At least the overthrow that Robbie had was straight down the middle. He overthrew the guy maybe about 5 yards, but the guy was covered. Okay, yes. So he had to put it out. He just didn't put enough air on the ball. That's a big difference, if you ask me, just looking at it. The other time, he threw a slant, hit the guy dead in the hands, the guy dropped the ball. But that goes on Robbie as an incompletion. Yeah. Okay, so you kind of have to really judge that based on what it is.
I didn't watch Coach Breed's press conference yesterday, but I wondered if he made any announcements about changing the lineup.
Well, I don't understand why. I think I guess Thorne's attribute is he's a leader. I guess that's what you said he got the job on.
Yeah.
But I remember another quarterback they said couldn't throw. He wasn't accurate. He lost his job. Jalen Hurts lost his job at Alabama because he wasn't accurate. Mm-hmm. Right now, he's probably the best quarterback in the NFL.
Absolutely.
So, so tell me about Travis and Taylor. What did y'all think about that?
I think it's just hype, overdo nothing. Because if you look at body language, it tells you something. When they were walking out after the game, they were just walking side by side, but the body language didn't say there was really something going on. It really didn't say anything like, we kind of got a little vibe going. Because, if you just meet somebody for the first time and you guys are hanging out, there's a certain body language there.
Right.
Okay. Some chemistry that you have worked up. I really didn't see that.
I agree, Michael.
Especially when you got to go meet the guy's mother at the same time.
Right.
And sit in the suite.
You got 60,000 people sitting around.
And you're in the suite.
But it's a Hollywood thing. It's the whole Hollywood thing. You match up the stars, and people freak out over it or whatever. And then when it's over, they go to their separate homes, and they it's like, man, I don't want to have to do that again.
So it's funny because Kelsey has been dating mainly sisters, African American.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting to see everybody making a big to-do over that. And it came out that Taylor Swift's favorite team is the Philadelphia Eagles, where his brother plays.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I tell you what. Why don't we let's do God a minute, and then we'll come back on the flip side of it. So, Sean, are you out there? Why don't you go do God a minute for us? We appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone joining in with us. My name is Shantia Jones, and this has got a minute. Here's a story of a lovely lady has been burned into generations of brains. The story of Carol and a man named Brady, whose marriage creates a blended family of 8, not counting Alice, Tiger, or Cousin Oliver. Today, the Brady Bunch is viewed as classic, family-oriented entertainment, not scandalous or challenging fare by any means. Although the show was a beloved, safe-seeming staple for modern audiences, it was groundbreaking when it was first conceived, so groundbreaking that it almost never got made. The story of the Brady Bunch begins in 1966 when TV producer Sherwood Shorts read a news item in the Los Angeles Times that claimed 30% of marriages involved children from a previous relationship. Now, in 1966, this was a new phenomena, he later called. The television was loaded with happily married couples and single widows and widowers, but there wasn't any show that revolved around the marital merging of two families. All those divorces and changing views on whether people should marry at all produced new family structures that Shorts felt would resonate with audiences. So he wrote a pilot about a widower who falls in love with a divorcee, gets married, and combines their two families in one house of endless situations and laughs. The Brady Bunch can still be seen on Paramount Plus. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Shantia Jones, and this has got a minute.
All right. Thank you, Sean. I think it's interesting how a lot of the older programs have come back
Mhm.
and have enthusiastic audiences and so on and so forth. One I know that we're glad has come back. It's in the heat of the night.
Yes.
Because we got all these heat of the night people on here with us. And yeah, I think I think when you do something like that, you just don't realize how long it'll be a part of you.
Right.
So let's see. Who's got something next here?
I got something.
I told you guys about the 10-year-old boy driving the car.
Yeah.
He got upset with his 10-year-old boy, and 11-year-old sister was upset because her mom took away her electronic toys, her phone, and so on and so forth. So they got in the car. They live in Florida. He's 10 years old. They were going to drive to California. They were running away. And 4 hours later, policeman pulled them over about 200 miles from their home. The little boy had stopped, and he got back in the car to get back on the interstate, and the policeman pulled him over. A 10-year-old boy.
10-year-old.
He'd already driven 4 hours.
That's amazing.
So I don't even know how he saw.
I was going to say, how did he see over the steering wheel? They didn't say what type of car it was, but I'm wondering, well, how in the world did that child see over the steering wheel? I can barely see over it at my age.
So the mom had to get somebody to drive her 4 hours to pick him up. Can you imagine what it was like when she saw them? Woo, boy.
Yeah.
Well, just think about this, though. That kid had to be pretty smart. Number one, he figured out how to get that seat adjusted so he can drive, and he's quite skillful because he didn't have a wreck, right?
Right.
Now, think about the other thing. He must have known the car had a full tank of gas because they didn't give out of gas.
Well, he also had to he must have figured out how to read maps or use his phone or whatever.
Right.
Because he was going to California.
These kids today, they know how to use electronics. So maybe they took one of those banned electronic devices with them so they'd have a GPS or something that tell them how to get there. But
man,
I have to say that's the epitome of the saying that says, "Go west, young man, go west."
Yeah, that was.
And he didn't get stopped for erratic driving or anything. They stopped him because the mother had reported a car stolen.
Mother had reported her car stolen, and her kids were missing.
Right.
And she said that she was walking through the house at one point, and she noticed that A lot of their clothes were gone. They had packed up, man. They were serious. They had packed suitcases.
They planned this thing.
Hey, you remember back when you were little, your parents said, if you run away, don't come back.
Right.
They weren't planning on coming back.
I hear you. I hear you. Okay, so Michael, you had something.
Yeah, this is a serious note. There's a senator out of New Jersey named Mendez, and he has been indicted. And what's interesting in this is supposedly he is accused of accepting bribes from New Jersey businessmen, wanting him to use his influence on the committee that he sits on to somewhat thwart or maybe delay some of the charges that they're facing in a criminal case over in Egypt. And when his house was raided, they found $500,000 cash, some stuck in his coat pockets, gold bars that were hidden throughout the house. He and his wife accepted a Mercedes and had mortgage payments paid and all this other stuff. He's a Democrat. You don't hear a whole lot about it, but he's saying he's not going to resign his Senate seat. He resigned from the chairmanship of the committee that he sits on, which was a pretty powerful committee, what have you. But there are people in his own party, I will say, they're calling for him to step down. But he's being defiant and not doing so. And both he and his wife have been indicted. This is the reason why people say that all politicians are crooks. This is the very reason why they do not trust the elected officials. Last week, it was Tommy Tuberville talking out of both sides of his mouth, holding up military nominations, but he's doing a little insider trading over here on the side. Mm-hmm. Now we got Mendez, okay, that is being defiant. He knows he caught red-handed. Come on now. Why you have gold bars in your house where you can't take them to the bank, right? So you got to hide them in your house. You have $500,000 cash. He came out and said that he's always held cash money out of the bank. Why? It just doesn't make sense at all that you're in this position, the spotlight is going to be on you, regardless of who you are and what you do. And here we go.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I just think that they have so much autonomy that they can get away with things.
Right.
He's one reason he probably is so adamant about not resigning is he know some of the other ones who were in the same situation but hadn't been caught.
That's a good point. Good point.
I was going to say, when they look at Clarence Thomas, a Supreme Court justice who's taken all these favors from these billionaires, and there's no problem with that. Clarence Thomas has justified it. And so, it's a little bit different situation, but I think they all sort of related that's the same. If they can do it up there, why can't we take things from other people as well? So,
well, I don't know. I don't know if term limits are the answer, but it would probably help somewhat that you can't just go up there and stay the rest of your life.
Right.
And make all kinds of deals on the side and so on and so forth. It wouldn't bother me at all if they had term limits. If they had to, if this guy had to resign. That one guy who was a comedian, they had him, the senator.
Bonnie Franks, wasn't his name Franks?
I think so.
Yeah.
Right.
Wasn't nearly as serious, but he went ahead and resigned. They got that guy, that representative, whatever his name is, who won't resign, who told all the lies to get his job.
Santos.
So
Santos.
I don't know. It's just, to me, should he resign? Yeah. Shit, you're a crook, man. You know, you know. But this is the
Yeah.
world we're living in. They're not.
Mhm.
They're not gonna. Well, they're not gonna walk away from a gravy train.
Right. That's the problem. They got it too good in those seats, and they don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean,
I
you
thought
have,
he didn't he get indicted before?
yes, he did have
Something.
problems before. You're right.
I thought
Yes.
so. I
There
thought
was
I'd
some
heard his
questionable
name before.
tactics before.
Yeah.
Yes. You're
Wow.
absolutely right. You know,
Now you mentioned Tuberville. They went over Tuberville's head to do something to put some people in positions
yeah,
that he was holding up.
yeah, yeah, they did. They
I
did.
don't know.
I just don't see that as, I guess it's one of those moral type things. And I use that in quotation, not that Tuberville is moral, but for him to say
Yes.
that, he's holding this up because the army is paying for
Yeah,
abortion. That's
yeah,
basically what it's about.
yeah.
So, in other words, you know, I don't understand what that has to do with the other people that are up for nomination. I don't think they had any
Nothing.
abortions.
Has nothing to do with it.
So I mean,
Some somebody has their hooks in Tuberville,
Yes.
yeah.
and
Well,
that's unfortunate.
we were talking about football earlier, and we didn't mention this, but the Denver Broncos got beat by the Miami Dolphins 70-20
Woo!
over the
Having the
weekend.
what? What was the score?
70-20.
No.
Yes.
And so now, do they blame this on Russell Wilson as well?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. But the blame is going on the defensive coordinator for the Broncos, who's a brother, not to the head coach, Sean
What?
Payton. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think his name is Vance Joseph. He's the defensive coordinator. So all the fans trying to get a $2,500 petition to have him fired.
Wow.
Okay, but the last couple times I've checked, it's been the offense that has not really been keeping up. That's just like in Auburn's case this past Saturday. Our defense played lights out. Halftime, the score was 6-3 or some stuff like
Right.
that. Okay,
Right.
defense got worn out because the offense didn't do their job.
Mm-hmm.
So now you look at the pros, and it's a brother that's the coordinator, Vance Joseph. So they want to get rid of him, but Sean Payton is supposed to be the guru.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
at first they wanted to get rid of Sean Payton was taking snipes at Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Russell Wilson was huge in Seattle,
Yes.
and he went to Denver last year and he had a really rough year, and so they were just all over him. But one of the commentators mentioned that if Sean Payton should take any of the blame for this, I mean,
Most
if your team
definitely.
gives up 70 points, you don't just single out the coordinator.
Right.
It generally goes deeper than that. And
yeah. Well, the offense didn't score but 20 points, though.
yeah,
So you telling me now Miami's never been known for defense. So you're gonna tell me Miami's defense is that good that
Right.
the Broncos couldn't score but 20 points? And one of the players from Miami said that Sean Payton disrespected Russell Wilson in a blowout game like that. He kept Russell Wilson in. Now most coaches,
that's right.
if it's just not your day, they take their best players out because they
That's
don't
right.
want to run the risk of getting injured and say,
Right.
okay, it's just not your day. Let's get ready for next week and
Mhm.
give the backup. Stidham is the backup. Stidham, the quarterback from Auburn. He didn't
Right.
get to play, but he kept Russell Wilson in there. So that
You
was like,
know-
we blaming you.
Well, yeah, and you can sometimes you can just feel envy. Sometimes you can just feel the fact that somebody has something against you, not legitimately because it's your fault or whatever, but this is how they feel, and this is how. And I was watching him yesterday, and Sean Payton, and he doesn't care for Russell Wilson. I mean, it's just pretty obvious.
Wow.
So maybe Russell needs to go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Mm.
So let me run this by you guys. The state of Mississippi. So you already know that this ain't a positive story. The auditor for the state of Mississippi says the state should defund several college majors and invest in subjects that matches the state's workforce needs.
Yeah.
He said there should be no taxpayer funding for what he calls useless degrees in garbage fields like urban study, anthropology, sociology, German literature, African American studies, gender studies, and women's studies. Those are garbage fields as far as he's concerned. So I just thought that was really interesting that he would call those majors garbage, and that he should say that, well, we shouldn't fund those. So what does he want? Everybody to be an engineer? Everybody to be something that maybe they're not? And African American studies, gender studies, women's studies, all those are bad.
And he said social studies. Didn't he say sociology?
Sociology, anthropology, urban studies. They're useless degrees in garbage fields. Wonder what he studied.
That's
that's
what I like to know.
Find out.
Well, the comment I make on that is that now I've never lived in Mississippi, but what I've read and observed, I'm just going to be full disclosure. But from what I've read and observed, I think they have a lot of social issues. I would think that they need more people in sociology to help bring about a change in the state of Mississippi. Urban studies, well, we have a lot of urban metropolitan areas.
Right.
A lot of them are overcrowded. There's homeless issues. So urban studies, I think, would kind of go to figuring out ways to make urban cities more livable, more sociable. But there's not many urban cities in Mississippi. That's the point.
Jackson.
He wants more people like him living there, basically, is what it is.
I think, I don't know. I just think that's kind of stupid to.
It is stupid.
Make a public statement like that. But then again, we don't know who
I
this
think
guy
that he was
is.
really targeting one particular area, and he added the rest of them in there, so it wouldn't look obvious as to what he was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, Barbara, you figured out what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. That's like the Wisconsin Republican leader blocks university employee pay raises unless the college cuts their diversity programs. I don't know if you all saw that article, but the Republican Speaker of the Wisconsin Assembly is blocking pay raises for the University of Wisconsin employees unless the university cuts diversity, equity, and inclusion spending by $32 million. Why? Well, he just says that that's an unnecessary field that is is racist in itself, that they are.
Here's why I answer the diversity thing. We can go back as close as a year, and you had CEOs of major corporations running this country who spoke to the value of diversity programs, who spoke to the value of diversity programs within their particular corporations,
right,
and how it was of value to them and to their employees and to their customer base.
Right.
And now it's the worst thing in the world. It's kind of amazing.
And
Uh,
they actually cut the school's funding by $32 million, which was funding the DEI programs, and said that, we're not going to give you that money. Well, the universities decided that they were going to go have the programs anyway. They would find funding elsewhere than federal funding or state funding. So, so this leader now says that, well, that wasn't good enough for us not to give you the money. We're just not going to even approve your pay raises if you don't cut the spending on DEI, regardless of where you get the funding from. He just wants it erased and not taught at all.
it doesn't matter that the money's not coming from them.
Right.
They're getting the money from other sources,
Right.
but he just don't want you to. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was something that was cooked up, and it's been something that those leaders continue to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Michael.
Well, I find it perplexing that they, and when I say they, I'm talking about these people that are so against diversity, equity, and inclusion that they can make a determination that it's not needed. However, they've never been in that subsegment of the population that's been held back or treated unjustly because of the fact they were diverse, in other words. So they don't know what it's like, but they can say we don't need this. However, you look at the federal contracts, you look at all the government contracts that are given, and the majority of the companies are not minority companies. They get a little smidgen, and now they want to take that away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we don't need it, but yet and still the numbers are horrible over here, but another segment of the population are getting fat at the trough.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand the connection there.
Well,
no, we wouldn't need DEI, affirmative action, or any of that if everything was ideal, but it's not.
Right.
Well, if you go and look at the numbers at the institutions that that have been practicing DEI and see how low their numbers are in terms of targeted populations, what's the big fuss about?
Yeah,
because obviously you wasn't changing anything.
Right.
So you just go back to doing what you were doing. And I think, Michael, you made a statement. You were talking to one of the friends of yours, and he asked you, and I may be not characterizing it right, but basically the thing was, when will we stop referring to racism in our society and so on and so forth? And I think you can correct me, but your answer was something to the effect of, when we stop having first. You got that position with the insurance industry group, and you're the first Black to ever be involved at that level in that organization. Well, if we're still having the first Blacks or the first women, then we still got problems. It's 2023.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the first time we've ever had this Black guy in this position. He's been in this group now 100 years, but this is the first time we've had. The argument doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that some people want to say, well, it's all changed because we had Barack Obama. He was the first Black president. And I'm just saying that's the way they're justifying.
Sure.
And now we have Vice President Kamala Harris, and we've had all of these people that have done this. So therefore, it's not like that anymore. Well, that's a bunch of crap. It's just the fact that those particular people were able to matriculate through the system and get there. That doesn't mean that it's open up for everyone. It's the same thing about the government. They talk about government handouts. When a certain segment of the population get funding from the government, they're depending on the government. Well, wait a minute. We just had COVID, and people like Tom Brady got millions of dollars. Now, what did he need?
Los Angeles Lakers.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Ruth Chris Steakhouse.
Right.
Well, let's
All
So
of
don't
there's
these
talk.
a
corporations,
long list of
they
Let's
got
don't.
millions and
Let,
millions of dollars, and the funds were forgiven. They were PPP.
well,
yes.
let's don't confuse them with facts now. You know.
Well, to me, that was a handout. You
It
get
was.
Exactly.
you get small
Right.
minority-owned businesses that can only qualify for $20,000 worth of PPP
Right.
money, but you got people that are millionaires already, and they get millions of dollars.
Mhm.
Okay, then the
That's
people that figured out, well, I need to kind of fudge, and they went and put all these employees and they cheated. Well, now they're going to jail. Well, they cheated because they knew they weren't going to get anything otherwise. Think about that. You know, there was a saying, they talk about people stealing food. Well, I think that if you're in that situation, you have no way to eat, no way to get anything. And not that you just a criminal, you've been trying to do stuff, but things have not worked out that way. And so now you're a criminal because you're trying to steal to eat.
Mm.
You want to read that? What were you saying, Tom? Jerry Lynn Jackson?
Jerry Lynn says, I had a very heated discussion with a person last night concerning microaggression. Unfortunately, they don't see this as a problem, or they feel like we are being judgmental. They don't understand or really don't want to understand. I am perplexed, but very disgruntled. Okay.
Great.
Thanks, Jerry Lynn. Yeah, I don't, you know, you can, we have news today that is news. You know, it's opinion. And so, regardless of who you're for, Republican, Democrats, Fox News, CNN, so on and so forth, you're only getting opinion 90% of the time.
Right.
They'll give you this smidgen of news, and then they have somebody come on and tell you what you just heard.
Right.
Well, I heard it myself. I don't need you to tell me what I heard. You know,
They want to shape your thoughts about what you heard, though,
for
Tom.
sure, and it depends on what network you're on.
Mhm.
As to what you're going to get, the slant that you're going to get put on.
Right. Right.
It's unfortunate. That's where we are.
Yes.
And I thank everybody in the chat. You know, we're going to start having these. We're debating having these once a month. These total roundtables where the people in the chat get to contribute, and you guys, everybody gets to contribute, as opposed to having one guest. We'll still have the G-list guests 3 out of the 4 Tuesdays. So we got a couple of minutes. You guys got anything else you want to
Tom, I do
throw
have
out
one more
there?
thing I want to mention. You know, we've talked about COVID being on the rise, and I know 3 people personally who have been diagnosed with COVID within the last week. And as of yesterday, residential households in the U.S. can order one set of 4 free at-home COVID tests from the UPS.com again. So please go out there and order your free test kits, because definitely the diagnoses are on the rise again. So the spread of COVID is still out there.
Before we go, I want Anthony Tedeschi say. Anthony says he loves the roundtable. Jerry Lynn Jackson says, I really enjoy these roundtable discussions. I think, and Michael and I had this discussion with a friend of his, and he called up and basically disagreed with something I had said on the show. Mm-hmm. And once he told me what his disagreement was, I said, okay. He said, well, you're not going to defend yourself? I said, no, that's my opinion.
Right.
I'm entitled to that opinion. Your opinion is you don't agree, and
Right.
you're entitled to that. So we don't have to go around the world on it. We don't have to argue about it. We can just say that you're an American, I'm an American. I said something you don't agree with, and you can go and talk to one of your friends who agree with you, and y'all can have a big discussion over it, but there's no need for me and you to argue.
Right.
I don't agree with you. You don't agree with me.
And
it's okay.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of it. I don't know. I think social media is a huge issue with it as well, depending upon what people have to say. So anyway, one last comment from each of you, and we'll move on.
Okay. Well, one thing I'll choose it to be the political. You know, Nikki Haley is trying to be president, and she's gotten into some hot water because she said a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. And because she's saying that Joe's age, you know, will probably make it unlikely that he'll serve out his term. And if that's the case, then Kamala will be president. So she's using fear to try to get votes,
which
is what she was
they've
doing.
always used.
And somebody has taken it a step further and saying that she was saying, well, if you don't vote for me, this black woman may be president. Now, I haven't found anything that she literally said that, but that goes back to what you're saying, your opinion and translation is what she's saying. Whereas I think that the deal is that with Nikki, not Nikki, but Kamala, a lot of people just don't find her likable, or they don't have a certain amount of confidence. Why? I don't know. I'll leave that up to them. But she's using that to advance her own cause.
Well, that's how they've always run. They, meaning whoever was on the opposite side of general opinion, have always used race bait, women baiting, or whatever to, I mean, when you said what she just said, I went back 2016. Well, this is the same thing they used against Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and for her to be a woman, you know, I tell my wife all the time, I say, look, if women ever got together and voted as a block, hell, they'd be unstoppable.
It's true.
You know, but that's not the way it is right now. So, Jerry Lynn Jackson says, Michael, it is subliminal. Nikki knew exactly what she was saying. She is saying, if you don't vote Republican, you're going to have to settle for a black woman.
Right.
Nikki does not speak for me, period. That's Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. You're right. Nikki doesn't speak for any of us.
I've never really been a fan of Nikki Haley. And
well, I will say this: she does have a black son-in-law.
Oh, does she?
Yes. I'm just saying that.
Hey,
I'm just
saying.
We
didn't pick him.
Does Mitch McConnell have a black son-in-law or a black something or another?
Some daughter-in-law or something.
A son-in-law who's running to be governor of Kentucky.
Right.
Yeah. The turtle.
Who basically freed these officers that killed that woman.
Yes.
Right.
In her house.
Right.
Who was just at home.
Right.
And they shot into her house and killed her.
Right.
And it was a black man that freed him.
Yes.
So I don't think that we always are on the side of black people. I don't think we're always on the side of liberals, on the side of conservatives, whatever. I think we try to be on the side of what we feel is right.
Right.
That's where we should be.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So true.
I think I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, any final comments? Okay.
Well,
I've enjoyed this discussion today.
We're going to move on. Let me go to my closing comments. First of all, I want to thank everybody in the chat for all your comments. We appreciate it. And you're entitled to your opinion. And hey, we're not always right. On November 18th of this year, Auburn University President Chris Roberts will host the Forgotten Ones at the President's Home in Auburn University. Who are the Forgotten Ones? They are people like Mitzi Jackson, Clifford Outland, J.B. Brown, Virgil Pearson, Joe Cribbs, William Andrews, Ray Crump, Sylvester Davenport, Byron Franklin, and others. The forgotten ones who proudly go by that name are the black athletes who migrated to Auburn in the early 1970s and integrated the athletic department. The event, a brunch this year, is held in association with the James Owens Foundation, run by James's family. The event was held last year with nearly 30 guys, or maybe more, showing up. Gloria's on here, so she can correct me. Some of whom hadn't seen each other since leaving Auburn, and most had never been back to the university. Some of them as many as 50 years. The forgotten ones. We had so much fun last year seeing each other, reminiscing about what the experiences that we had been through. I look forward to seeing those guys. And this is how I see it on this September 26th in the year 2023. That's our show for today. I want to thank the audience. We appreciate you guys, and we'll do this once a month. And you're welcome. We welcome all of your comments. I want to thank our G-list guests, which was the round table and the audience. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl. Thanks again to the TWT team, Barbara, Sean, Emily, Michael, and Joyce. And that's it for this September the 26th. Remember, a day without a smile is a day wasted. Enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.